Never before on the channel have I reviewed a non-VR game, but with the release of the Callisto protocol, I really feel like I need to share my thoughts. I've just finished it. Thank you to everyone who jumped in on Twitch. I just want to start by saying I really do think that pre-ordering games and these really concrete release dates are killing people's enjoyment. It's pretty clear to me that Steam is suffering a lot of problems with the release. I played on PS5. There's two modes you can use, either performance or like a quality mode. Personally, I have tried both, and I do prefer performance, which is like 60 FPS. I think the game looks fantastic and at times brilliant. Probably one of the best looking games I've seen on the PS5. The haptics are great. The enemy variations are cool. You never really get bored. And the release of this game has left a lot of people asking, is it worth it? Because if you're like me, you'd have seen the reviews are like mostly negative, and there's clips of frame stuttering and lots of horror stories where the game just constantly crashes. So I just wanted to share my experience of playing the game on PS5, and I want to add that even though I've enjoyed the game, there are some warning signs that if you're thinking of picking this up, maybe you should listen a bit to my experience. So first of all, I'm going to rock out with the positives. It looks fantastic. There's definitely Dead Space vibes in here. There's also a little bit of Demon Souls and a tiny sprinkle of The Last of Us, which all sounds amazing. When it comes to the Demon Souls bit, not so much. It can be exceptionally hard, even on minimum. I did start with maximum security settings, which is like the hardest settings. And I did start having a really good time, but what happens is you can get easily overrun. And unless you're really skilled at the game right at the beginning, you'll literally be put off because it's quite hard. This doesn't have any lock-on ability. Basically, face up against an enemy, and then you can dodge left or right, and it's not a button press. It is physically pressing left or right. But in that time, if someone comes up behind you and hits you can't really get out of it. And then all you can do after that is block and then hope for the best. Later on in the game, you unlock a kinetic ability, which runs out really quickly, but if you put all your resources into upgrading it, it definitely makes the game a lot easier. The weapons are great. I didn't actually use the assault rifle, but I used every other weapon that I come across. This game isn't Dead Space. It simply isn't Dead Space. It's close to Dead Space, but there is a massive emphasis on melee combat. It's an awesome adventure. I feel good. I feel good that I played it. But there's definitely some things that I wish the developers had done. One, the checkpoints are pretty bad. Sometimes you can come up to a point where you're near a boss and you'll go to a shop and you'll collect loads of stuff, sell loads of stuff, and then you're bored to start the boss and the game won't save. So you can get right near the end of that particular boss segment or a level and you'll die and you'll go back and you'll have to pick up all that stuff again, sell all that stuff again, upgrade your weapons all again. And it does get increasingly frustrating that for some reason, someone out there hasn't thought to himself that I should move this checkpoint. This checkpoint is so far away for no reason. Secondly, do you remember the thing in Dead Space? You could click on the floor and it would show you where to go. This game would benefit from something like that because you can wander around aimlessly and get a bit confused. I understand they're probably trying to enhance gameplay time by doing this, and sure enough, you do eventually find the right way, which is fine, because you'll come across a certain cross path, and you'll be like, right, if I go straight on, is this the main mission? If I go left, is this like a side quest? It's really hard to know. The good thing is, if you do the side quests, there's normally a risk for reward mechanic, so it's normally quite tough, but you get some good stuff. This game is really hard in places, really hard. The difficulty spike, I would say, can be severe. You'll just be going along thinking you're doing quite fine, and then suddenly, bam, you'll be in a boss fight, and you didn't know you was coming into a boss fight, and you've not bought any ammo, and you haven't got yourself ready, and then suddenly you die 20, 30 times, and a couple of times I had to turn it off and walk away, because what I would call a soft lock system can really feel like it's cheating you out of the win, especially in the boss fights. I mean, I'm talking some of these are a one-hit kill, and when a game can be a little bit glitchy and a little bit buggy and a little bit unfair, so for example, you're trying to jump over a wall, vault over a wall, and it won't vault when you think you press the button. Weapon select system can be also quite cumbersome. It's not fast, it's not fluid. Little things like this can make combat frustrating. And for a game that is basically all combat, that sounds heavily negative. But after all that said, I still really am glad that I played the game and I enjoyed it. It's got me hyped for the Dead Space remake coming next year. I definitely wouldn't avoid the Callisto protocol. In fact, I would recommend the Callisto protocol, and I really hope they do some updates to fix a lot of the bugs. I had 2 crashes, and what you can do, you can notice these crashes are upcoming, because what will happen is your character will suddenly not be able to run downstairs properly. It'll sort of float, or for example, you'll go up to something and it just disappear in front of you. When you see these glitches start to happen, that's when you know the game is about to break. What this game feels like is, if you imagine Hollywood said, right, we need to make a Dead Space movie. And they're like, yeah, but we can't call it Dead Space. And they go, okay, we'll call it the Callisto Protocol. And they get these actors in, and it's a good movie. Everyone's like, yeah, it's a good movie. And then they go, right, what we need to do is make a game of that movie. That's what the Callisto Protocol feels like. So yeah, there's my thoughts on Callisto Protocol. Don't avoid it. I've seen some reviews saying avoid it. If you're thinking about getting it and you like Dead Space and you like sci-fi games, get it. I think you're going to have a good time. Just be ready to have a hard time as well.